Hello, Ohana. Soul Dr. Nick here, and it's January 25th, 2025. Very symmetric number, and another day of the daily diary. So, sticking with the commitments, and that's always fun. Reminder to those who are picking this up, probably not for you. And if you choose to listen, it's up to you. And coming at you with the blue blockers again, because I'm realizing how different it is for me to actually experience the mornings with blue blockers on. And it's funny because I can see a train coming in the distance, and even its headlights look a little yellow, which is fantastic. And looking at the fire pit, I can only see the yellow flames and not the blue flames anymore. So really enjoying blue blockers. It's really good for me to be able to wind down at night and to not be totally revved up in the morning. And it's a new practice, and they definitely look different. And it's funny, as I get into it, I remember how many people have told me about it for the past 6-7 years. It's so easy to start doing the thing where it's like, gotta tell everyone else now, versus let's just use them for a few hundred days consistently and see what happens. And that's part of my practice, and that's even as I'm stepping into this new diet that I haven't started yet. And how do I actually get everything together for the juicing, for the supplements, for the changing of the guard, and probably doing it when the new year hits for Chinese New Year. But if I started beforehand, it's okay. And part of it's, what are we going to talk about? Well, there's so many things I haven't done. I'm going to start with this because it's in my head. Gotten the juicer, because there's a part of it that I'm reaching out to Nama Juicing, Nama Wellness, to actually see if I can create some kind of affiliate partnership, something else, and we'll see what happens with that. I haven't gotten Ohana Sage fully up yet, but I've got a team behind it, which is fantastic, and noticing my own story. And I actually had gratitude for them this morning. I was like, so grateful for this team, for Ohana Sage, another team for Ohana Breath, and then grateful for all the souls that have played their parts, and grateful for all the ways that I've quote unquote messed up in order to get here. And I realized that I would not have aligned my life without having done all the things that I thought were wrong. And whether I've done things that are wrong or right, I'm worthy of love. And today is a balanced day, 25/1/25. And today also is the day that the planetary alignments are starting, where you can see, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 planets in the night sky all at once. And some people call it the Rainbow Bridge. All I can say is that for myself, it's felt very energetic. I've been really tired the last few days, and so grateful that it took me until yesterday to be like, it's okay to rest more. It's okay to rest more. And as I did that, my own son is developing his own little fever and everything else, and he's getting to sleep on me because he loves cuddling up with daddy, because daddy is fine just being. And it's funny that I realize that's one of my greatest gifts now, is just being able to be. And it's safe for him to be like, all right, I'm not feeling well, I just want to curl up, and not feel like you're gonna run off or need to do something or feel antsy. It's perfect. And I'm serving my role really well, which allows those around me, including my beloved, to be able to do what she loves. She wants to be able to do some doing. And I'm so grateful that this is the dynamic, because if I was his primary all the time, nobody would be happy. And if she had to do my role right now, she wouldn't be happy. So how is it that it works out so well? And the more I dive into Dr. DeMartini and reading his Breakthrough Experience book, the more I can see that. Seeing the polarity of both sides, seeing the benefits of things that I used to think were just terrible that happened, and seeing the downsides of things that I thought were amazing, right? And there's that piece as well. And more, it's looking at what is the benefits of the current dis-ease state. Even something like my son's eczema, what's the benefit of it? And part of the benefit is looking into all these different modalities for healing, for health, for asking for help from others, as opposed to thinking we got it all covered, for helping to temper my own ego as well. It's like, I remember even from his birth thinking, oh, I'm going to be rewarded. And he's not a reward. He's him, and he's amazing. And he is my biggest teacher. So he's constantly teaching me how do I not judge the health of someone else as well, the current state of someone. Because I know that there's a point in time in the future where it's all better. How quickly it is depends on me more so than anything else, and creating a space for safety, for safe healing. And reminding myself, can I actually imagine what life is gonna be like after he's better? Better in that sense. Because then things will change, my reality will change, the constraints will change. And this is something I learned yesterday. Knowledge is a constraint. And I always knew this, and I'd forgotten it. But even the idea of like, whenever we come up with a theory, whether it's the theory of evolution or the germ theory or even Newtonian physics, we then almost sometimes put down, there's nothing else to figure out. Forgetting that what we think we're figuring out is just our explanation of the divine order and the universe and the cosmos. It doesn't mean it's the right thing. It doesn't mean it's the wrong thing either. It gives us usually a partial explanation. And in that partial explanation doesn't mean that there isn't a deeper, further search for the truth, which is why Newtonian, physics is now being superseded by other kinds of physics. Like it's an electrical universe, it's a quantum universe. And our trap is if we think quantum, we've got it now, right? These are just explanations we have that unlock new layers of technology. And the germ theory, how much good did it do? Oh my God, we talk about those stories and I remember them all in medicine. And how much harm is it doing by actually limiting what we can consider to be true, right? If there's only one way for spreading disease that we know of, and this must be the way, then we're missing out the point. Even the point of how we come to treating disease, such as cancer. And I appreciate the person that helped wake me. I was like, if we thought we knew what we were doing, we would have figured things out a while ago. And this is the thought experiment that's really hard for myself when I receive it, and hard for some other people when I give it. It's like, if you could have figured it out with your mental capacity, you would have already figured it out, especially for those people who are doers and implementers. And I remind myself of that sometimes, because I'm like, these things that I think need to be done, if I haven't done it yet, there's something that's been missing this whole time. And maybe it is I just need one piece of coaching or teaching. And maybe it is a perfect place to get the most help, because the most help is wanted here. A little bit of help, great, but why do I want to move slowly? And that's probably part of it when they say AI is going to disrupt everything. Isn't that it's going to take away the job, but it's going to create advantages to people who are willing to embrace it, to understand it, to implement it inside their fields. Whether it's even today learning about using AI to filter out all the videos, all the testimonials, so you can actually target the testimonials to the kind of client that you're working with. And that's brilliant. And that's part of it for even the breath sessions. If I had AI trained to understand each breath session and how it might benefit someone the most, then people would get more targeted stuff. Now, the drawback of all this is that it's limited by what AI thinks is optimal. And every now and then we want to play with the optimization. And that's part of it with my music. There is a certain subset of people that come to the sessions and like, this music, it just isn't following the right progression. And such a truth to that. Oh my God. When there is a more logical, ordered progression, it probably is going to serve sometimes. And the random, complete chaos will serve sometimes too. And for me to realize my constraint was I learned from random, complete chaos, and that was my template. So that's what I'm repeating. So whenever I create a little bit more order, and people are like, wow, what a difference. So it's playing with both. And then today as well, doing a little bit more stretching to stretch out the lungs, stretch out the rib cage, stretch out the diaphragm. Just reminded me, how do I incorporate this into my regular breath as well? Because it's inviting people to do more stretches that they may not be used to open things up. And then every time we breathe, something new can be there. Breathing in more tension probably doesn't help the intention, right? And sometimes that's the thing, it's like we're trying to use our mind to override. And notice for myself, I'm jumping. And this is part of what I want to do right now in these daily musings, which is why it's just for me, is to jump. To notice the jumpiness that's in there. To notice this is the part where people might call ADD or ADHD. It's like, why are you going from one thing to the other? And the part that I can see now is it's harder to track me, but is that necessarily a bad thing? That's part of what I'm practicing right now, pulling things from different streams. And it's a reminder the schooling system is the way that we've been taught, trying to see how can we conform, how can we be polite, how can we fit into the standards of society so that it runs more efficiently, so they can run more efficiently in the industrial age. And now in this kind of creator, personal development, personal brand age, it's a different set of rules and it will feel uncomfortable. It's actually standing out. It's actually not having everyone follow what's going on, because part of it is it helps differentiate who can actually follow and wants to follow versus who's like, this is too complex. This is too random. And noticing that desire that I have to build something new goes against before, which is about perfecting and learning really well what's already there. There is a piece that I got to learn. I'm grateful for the science projects, for the innovations, and that was a minor piece relative to the fitting in with what's going on and fitting the narrative so it actually makes sense. And sometimes now I can look at it and say, if it makes sense, it's probably making sense based on my old framework, which will create the same thing that I had before. And I love right now being challenged as I listen. It's like, oh, what if we're not here to try to tax all the quote unquote rich? Because we need to change the incentives so that we are actually incentivizing people who are creating something new and de-incentivizing those who are just figuring out how to use the system to funnel more money into them. And an easy way to look at this doesn't mean it's right, but there's a part of me that agrees with it, and I'm just noticing my own patterns. It's like, oh, all the stuff in real estate or, owning multiple properties or things like that, like, not bad. And do we really need to incentivize that more? Incentivize all these structures that people can create, all these tax structures that make it better, versus spending the time and energy to really create new shit, right? Like, how much of our time right now, my time and energy, is spent on figuring out how to do the business side of things, accounting, all that stuff, versus actually just creating the new shit. Let's actually just have these clients start moving through and actually doing stuff. And how do I leverage the companies that have made that part simpler too? And that's probably why that thing that Tim Ferriss recommended might be beneficial for the HR, for the billing, for all that stuff. And taking a breath with myself, with whoever's here, and recognizing this is part of it for me. I am training my own AI right now. I'm training my own AI by creating enough content outside of me that I can see myself from the external viewpoint and my own trajectory and development. And that's the piece that I really appreciate. And I'm going to acknowledge him, Eric Godsey. He's like, all these Dharma's friends, all these people he's inviting to create from the place of put it out there and then see what evolves, and seeing that process evolve. And he's done it really well for me. Alex Hormozy's done it really well for me. And it's been able to take a look back and see what things were. And that helps when we're taking a look back at anyone we may look to, whether it's Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or others as well, and see where they came from. Because that's the piece that's missing, and that missing link of, oh, they went from zero to hero. There are all the pieces in between. There's all the disjointed thoughts that I have. There's all the random side notes. There's all the ideas that I had, and I recognize, how did I not implement them, or not just put them out there when I realized I'm never going to implement them. The iPads on the planes. The moment I saw an iPad, I was like, this should be on the back of a plane. Like, it makes no sense of creating all these specific proprietary systems with giant technology instead of having a streaming system or an in-house, Plex system. And now it's starting to come up, but even then the rollout is pretty terrible. And that's okay. And part of it is I can see now too the trap of falling into another technological domain, and a constraint of that. How do you work well? And that's part of the trap of Apple, is they're trying to trap you in, and you can see the trap. And if you can find a better alternative, you will. That's even it for me right now. It's like, I see this beautiful piece of technology I'm working with, and I look forward to when there's a better way. And I'm not going to try to create it, because that's not my role or goal in this lifetime. And I can see now, looking at values and understanding values of others better, and the values breath is coming up, which is why I'm thinking of this, how I can better tune in. For my beloved, food and home are such high values. So how do I ensure that she's always got amazing food, and she's always got opportunities for home that excite her? And notice when sometimes I get in the way because I realize, oh, it's the next thing, but how do I support that transition to make it easier? And I've already thought of some of it, which is out of this world, which is like, I can't wait to get to the level where whenever we're traveling, we have someone go in advance of us and find the place and ground things in and clear out the energy and have all the organic food and scatter it out. And who wouldn't want to do that too, right? Do that as a job. And then for us, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to step into it going, oh, we're not coming to this brand new, and we can choose to whenever we want to. Like, that's the piece that sometimes I know I forget. It's like, just because we do something one way doesn't mean we have to keep doing it that way. We can always introduce the excitement back in. It reminds me of that story that Dr. DeMartini had. One of the people he first met on the path was someone who looked like a bum, but he's like, here's my secret. I'm actually really rich, but I wanted to choose to see what this lifestyle was like again. And isn't that neat that we can actually choose lifestyles? Every day is a choice. Right now, I'm choosing to create some more consistency in the mornings because that's what's serving me and my own development and growth. And at some point, it's choosing less structure. And it's funny how we divert and diverge. And it's funny, Iris is saying how some of the parents, they're trying to put children through the schooling that they never had, whether it's more academic even. And I'm recognizing more and more every piece of evidence that's trying to stack up is saying unschooling for us and our family, stepping into sovereignty more, where we're giving our son sovereignty, which is reminding myself to give myself sovereignty. How do I actually make choices? How do I notice when I feel constrained? And how do I let go and practice being uncomfortable in different ways? How do I notice when I'm trying to do something to appease both my own internal and external world, because it's like, it's more comfortable. And right now, how do I do the thing that's the optimizing for wonder? And for me right now, even these videos are optimizing for wonder, because it's the wonder of I'm creating something. I'm creating something more long format that I'm used to. And I'm not trying to have someone else watch it. That's the second piece. I'm actually trying not to have them watch it, because most people will be detracted by this. And I do appreciate that too. It's like, as we're targeting our ideal client, especially for Ohana Sage, it's not to try to target everyone. We are not going to be there for everyone. If anything, it's more self-selective. And I want that because I want to create something new. I want to create something new that has more longitudinal effect, that has less of a, I'm trying to make sure you have the outcome that you think you want right away versus the outcome that you know you've always needed, and then support to actually step through it. And I'll explain more about that because I'm going to talk to my team before I reveal too many details about what we're creating. And this is a perfect place to do it. No one's really watching this. And it reminds me, as I optimize my health protocols, procedures, it doesn't mean I want to stay on this forever. That's part of the trap as well. Oh, if I don't have my blue light blockers, oh, if I don't have my enema, if I don't have my diet, then I cannot exist. Versus, it's building up even more strength and resilience, and it's not the absence of stressors, but rather the more clarity of the focus and vision that's important. And that's a piece that I'm reminding myself of from yesterday. Resilience comes from clarity of focus and vision of the world that I truly see and hold as my universal law and reality, without holding onto it so tight that it's constraining me and restricting me. It's that beautiful dance. Because with that, that's what allowed people to survive the attacks, whether it's an attack on character. And that's part of it too, I recognize. As I step into more leadership, entrepreneurship, there's going to be more and more attacks, maybe even from people close to me going, I can't believe you're doing this. And I have to keep looking on myself and saying, am I doing what I actually believe in? And if I am, fantastic. And if not, I'm trying to fulfill some kind of caricature or some kind of fantasy. And that's a trap too. I love that. The person who got into the eating and filming it and people demanding more and then falling into the trap and then totally destroying his own body. It's like, oh, external validation approval versus internal validation approval. And even then, it's actually talking to my higher self versus my ego. I don't want to just validate my ego. And that's the funny thing. It's like, we've talked about this, stepping into my world. It's like, it's sex, money, and power. If I think that all of this is just driving it for sex, money, or power, then that's not serving myself or humanity. And all of those things are important. There is sex magic. There is power that allows more impact. And money spreads the voice. And aligned with vision and purpose and higher self, fantastic. Aligned with base desires to showcase, to compete, to compare, not really serving. And I really appreciate this new idea too. Any government that is defined by geography now may not be in full service. I agree and don't agree with this because I think there is a geographical component. We are losing sight of the closeness of connections. This is a global world, and yet nothing replaces the fact of who's actually directly in my physical orbit. And I think that that's the piece that a lot of the loneliness is being driven by the false message that you can be anywhere, do anything, anytime, you can move around, you can keep shifting. It's like, it used to be that you married someone within a certain radius of you because that's the radius you were in. And I'm not saying we have to go back to that, but man, when you're just jumping around all the time, even for myself, even this moving is helping remind me, are we missing a benefit of staying put and building on what's there? But the thing about building on what's there means not getting trapped in the messiness of what's there. Because sometimes every move, it helps to clear out the clutter. And I'm being reminded, especially in this home, every time we rearrange the furniture, I'm like, we've got a whole new home. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep playing with the landscape of the home. All right. I think I'm almost complete here for today. I'm just remembering with gratitude the people in my life that have been through different journeys, ceremonies, that have come in and out. And sometimes I feel both good, gratitude, and then like, oh, I've let them down. And reminding myself too, sometimes when I let someone down, I actually give them the freedom to do something. And that came up in a story recently with some winter tires. And it really helped me to see, it's like, okay, how was I actually the constraint? And I forget that sometimes with my persuasive nature and my eloquent words, that I am not always the best doer. So stepping out of the way, and that's what I'm going to do more of in the creation of this business, stepping out of the way to do what I do best. All right, ciao for now.